All right, lookers and all the insane gamers out there, your boy Yo Soy and the man goddamn are back. Tyler, we're coming live at a unusual time. Traditionally, we're Monday 7 p.m. EST, but since we had a national holiday yesterday, Memorial Day, right? We decided to push it back a day in case people were out observing or celebrating, said holiday. What did you do this weekend?
Well, I went to Charleston and then also Savannah, Georgia for the weekend. Visited family, hung out with my grandma Karen.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Karen
Shout
one
out Karen.
time.
Yep.
Just enjoyed the weekend, a long weekend. Played some golf yesterday. Got out there. Just like my boy Phil Mickelson, I struck
Mm.
some bombs. Really elevated those calves, that calf muscle, I would say. It was a great weekend though. I mean, I had a great time. Got some sun, some vitamin D, maybe a little alky in me, but it was good. How about you?
Yeah, no, I had a good time as well. Relaxed, hung out by the pool, took a little day trip down to San Diego. If we're
San Diego.
we're pronouncing it like Ron Burgundy. Which, funny enough, the one of the bars I was at actually had a drink called the Ron Burgundy. I was very
What was in
tempted to
it?
get it. I think it was some kind of whiskey, mixed drink cocktail. Obviously, I didn't end up doing it. I was like, I'm gonna get a burger. I think that'll pair well with a nice IPA. So that's what I
Yeah.
opted for.
I mean, what I've noticed is Charleston, Savannah, great cities. They're beautiful, incredible.
Hmm.
Getting a reservation there, almost impossible. You have to, like, all the restaurants in Charleston, you had to reserve out 2 months, a month, 2 weeks out in advance. I was like, I can't even go anywhere
2 weeks in
to get.
advance.
It's crazy. Like, literally every single restaurant, every single bar was like, "Oh yeah, we're at full capacity." Even though I saw like a bunch of tables around, just getting a place to eat or drink, it was just like impossible. Luckily we got into this cool rooftop bar. I mean, granted the tab ended up running like a crazy amount, but it's just like I feel like when it comes to places like that, it's just like I feel like social media has played a giant influence on all these high charges for drinks, for appetizers, for just eating. Like I was trying to eat at this restaurant on the river. It was like an old Creole style, New Orleans style. Your boy loves red beans and rice more than
Yep.
anybody. Trying to get in there, 3 hour wait time, 3 hours just to
Wow.
to get into the restaurant. I mean, this was in Savannah, Charleston. I went to one restaurant that I guess was on Netflix. I had no idea about that was like, yeah, you had to reserve like 2 months out in advance. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like
So what's the max wait time if it was, a restaurant or place that you really wanted to go to? What's the longest amount of time you would wait for a reservation?
probably an hour. I mean, because usually when they say an hour, it's like 30 minutes. Sometimes it could be an hour.
Yeah.
But if it's like a restaurant that I really want to go to, definitely an hour would probably be the longest. I remember, on Mother's Day, I was hanging with our good friend Biggie,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like I think we were trying to get into Denny's, and it was like
The
an hour.
Denny's.
I was like, fuck that, I'm not waiting an hour. So
Yeah, I feel like there's different factors that could influence how long you might wait. Traditionally, and I'm sure it's getting back to that way, now with things being more open, but if it's like, hour and a half wait, but you can take a seat at the bar and hang out, maybe there's a sports game on, you want to watch, grab a few drinks, that's not as bad. But during COVID, where it was all, reservation based and they don't want you, socializing, standing by around the restaurants, like you just got to sit there with your hands in your pockets out on the sidewalk, and you don't want to be doing that for too long, especially if it's cold, for instance.
So, to make a long story short, I didn't wait or find a restaurant in Charleston when I went. Ended up spending about $20 at Wendy's. I did wait 20 minutes at Wendy's. So it's bad when you're waiting 20 minutes at a fast food restaurant, just to get, your order taken. It was crazy.
Yeah. Sounds like a crazy weekend. Obviously, with the holiday, that's going to impact the overall people being out and wanting to do different things. I mean, traditionally it'd take me, a little over an hour to get to San Diego. It took me like close to 2.5 just because how jam packed the roadways were.
Well, I
But
mean, also California roadways are like always double the amount of time.
yeah, people don't know
What
how
is
to
it,
drive.
I-5?
I-5, 405, those are the main ones. I mean,
Yeah.
it's everyone's, bumper to bumper. We're barely moving. You got motorcycles going in between the cars on the dotted lines. It's complete chaos. But talking about chaos, Tyler, we're going to segue into our main topic of today's episode. It's been a pretty solid NBA playoffs, I must say. We had some 2-0 starts, a couple teams turn around, uh, tie the series up at 2 games apiece after going down 2 games. There's a couple 3-1s. We got our first sweep of the playoffs, right? So we'll dive right into that. I mean, just looking at the bracket right now, we'll start from the top because we're not, unless you want to cover every game that happened since our
No.
last episode, I feel like we can just kind of summarize it, give a synopsis of everything that's occurred. So I'm looking at just going from the top of this bracket. I'm looking at we got Utah Jazz versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Utah is now leading that series 3-1. John Morant, Tyler and I, we had some high praise for him. Obviously, making it out of the play-in games into the playoffs. They stole 1 game. The series was tied at 1-1. But I mean, the Jazz, Tyler, quite frankly, they're showing why they deserve that top seed, how they earned that throughout the regular season. Healthy Donovan Mitchell. That I mean, you can't go against that guy. He's Since he came into the league, he's shown how reserved and almost like a veteran he is, how poised he is in these clutch situations. I'm not sure if I have any scores to pull up, but I mean, what do you think of this series? Do you give the Grizzlies any hope of maybe stealing another game, or are the Jazz just too strong right now?
Well, I mean, their next game, I believe, is in Utah. I I think it's going to be too tough, for the Grizzlies. Yeah, it is in Utah. I
Yep.
think it's going to be too tough for the Grizzlies, to win, especially in Utah. It's a tough environment. Anytime that Utah plays in the playoffs, it's always rowdy. I do think that, John Morant, all credit is due to him. The guy is absolutely putting the Grizzlies on his back. He's playing out of his mind. He's scoring 40s, night in, night out with
Mm-hmm.
high assists, getting his teammates involved. Dylan Brooks, I would say, playing up to the level of the playoffs. But, I mean, you got to give it to the Jazz. They're a deep team. Bohan Bogdanovic,
No
playing really
relation
well.
to Bogdan on
Yes,
the
no relation.
on the Hawks.
But Rudy Gobert, playing well. Donovan Mitchell, like you said, you really see why or how good the Jazz team is with Donovan Mitchell on the floor. No discredit to Mike Conley, but Donovan Mitchell just adds a presence to driving to the hole, dishing out to teammates, taking it up. Him and John Morant has been a treat one on one, going back and forth throughout the series. Like I said, I do think that the Jazz are going to take this series. But I think it is still cool that Grizzlies weren't even technically playoff. We're a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
One out of the playing games, and deservedly won one game. And I think can't discredit a team for doing that, and especially a young team like the Grizzlies. This team, if they keep all these guys together, add on a few more pieces,
Mm-hmm.
John Morant's probably going to be top 3 point guards in the league. In the next few years, I would say 2 or 3. So I think you take away the whole entire aspect of them doing as well as they are.
Yeah.
It's great for the organization.
No, for sure. We got Dave checking in. Welcome to the Tuesday lineup, gentlemen. Lurking while working. Appreciate you for stopping by, Dave. I mean, feels good, Tyler. We're good in any type of situation. Monday, Tuesday, any day that ends in Y. Really, the No Look Podcast is gonna come on and perform. But yeah, just to kind of back up and reiterate what you were saying, Tyler. John Morant, he's playing 40 minutes a game, 40 plus. He's averaging 40.5 minutes a game, averaging 31 points. I would say for the most part putting the team on his back, but you do have a Dylan Brooks who's really come into his own, kind of finding his niche in that organization. He's averaging 25 in these postseason, but after that, I mean, there's a huge drop off. You got Valanciunas averaging 14, Jaren Jackson Jr. He's got 13, Kyle Anderson 10 points. you look at a guy like Grayson Allen, who I thought could be a big X factor. He's only putting up 7.5 points per game while playing 25 minutes. That's probably a big uh, question mark, I guess, with that lineup. Then you flip the script to the other side. Donovan Mitchell, since he's played 30 minutes a game, 28 points. Mike Conley, 20. Bohan Bogdanovic, 18. Jordan Clarkson, 17. Gobert, 16. I mean, you got Ingles off the bench. He started one game, I guess,
I mean,
probably that
Clarkson's
game.
off the bench too.
Yeah.
So I mean, this Utah team is deep. They're a deep team, and they're not one of those teams that you were like, Utah wasn't the sexy pick this year.
Hmm.
They're very efficient. They play very well together, have great chemistry. The one guy that you did mention for the Grizzlies that really needs to step up going forward, Jaren Jackson.
Hmm.
That guy is a bona fide stud, average a double double every game. I feel like you need more out of him though. If you're John Morant, you have to go to him saying, "Hey, Jaren, you're way better than this. You need to come out, show out a lot better." Maybe it's the playoff butterflies that are getting to him. Maybe next year it'll be a different story, but that's one guy that if I'm the Grizzlies, that's somebody that you have to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's still kind of young in his career. I definitely think he'll develop into that player everyone thought he was going to be coming into the NBA. But Tyler, just looking at this Jazz roster, I mean, the reason why they earned the number one seed in the West and the reason why they potentially could make it to, the Western Conference Finals or the championship game, they got a deep squad. Like we mentioned, Jordan Clarkson, sixth man of the year, coming off the bench. He's playing 24 minutes a game. You got Royce O'Neal, Joe Ingles, Derek Favors, Georges Niang. More so at the five and I guess Georges Niang plays the three, but at those forward center positions, you got a lot of guys that can come in, give Gobert, Bogdanovich a break, and have some good, impactful minutes.
Yeah, I think the thing with Utah is they really slow down the pace of the game with how they play because they have a lot of big guys. And then they speed it up with Donovan Mitchell, Jordan Clarkson when he comes in off the bench. But I mean, Utah runs away with this series, deservedly so. It was, first game, Rudy Gobert got into foul trouble, and Donovan Mitchell was out. I think now you're seeing what the true Utah Jazz team can do.
Yeah. So next game we got on the docket, Tyler, a pretty interesting series. We got the Clippers versus the Mavs. I mean, the Mavs come out, they're looking like, they're going to be the next best thing in the Western Conference. Luka's just having his way with the Clippers. You got playoff P or pandemic P is what they refer to him, I guess, in the bubble because he wasn't showing up. Him and Kawhi really turned the series around, coming back and winning two straight at home or no away actually, right? Because they're the higher seed, so that's interesting, Tyler. Each team is 2-0 away. Traditionally, you see teams play better at home. Um, Looking at these playoff splits, Luka still averaging 33 points a game. After that, there's a huge drop off. You got Hardaway at 16, Kristaps at 15, Kawhi 33, Paul George 25. I'm not sure what the splits were for the past few games, but what do you make of this series? Like I said, both teams going 2-0 on the opposite team's court. How do you think the rest of this series is going to shape out?
This is one of those series, and I think I said this last week that it's just up in the air. Me as a sports fan, I want to see the Mavericks win this series just because I don't really like this Clippers team. I don't think of them as anything that's immaculate. Disregarding having Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, some of the best scorers in the league. Um, but the problem is that the Mavs, it's Luka Doncic. That's all that's showing up in this playoffs for me. I wish that they got more out of Kristaps. I wish that they got more, from other positions, but they just haven't. Luka Doncic is literally, just like John Morant, he's putting the team on his back. Almost getting triple doubles every game. Uh, I think personally, I think the Clippers are going to take this series, and I honestly think they're going to take the next two games. I think they're going to win the game tomorrow in Los Angeles, and then they're going to win the next game in Dallas to finish the series.
I'm trying to find this Luca game log here. I think I got it. Postseason. So yeah, I mean, first two games of the series, 31-39. He did drop 44 in a losing effort um, in the game three against the Clippers. But that game four, Tyler, 19 points. So it looks like the Clippers may have come up with some sort of defensive scheme or overall game plan to kind of slow him down, which is not easy to do. I mean, he's coming in, he's got a plethora of records he set as far as scoring triple doubles for players of his age, being the youngest of all time in certain categories. If they can find a way to slow him down, Tyler, like you're saying, I kind of agree with you. Kristaps is not producing like he should. He's a completely different player than we've seen in New York. He's not really as dynamic. He doesn't really. He's not shooting the three ball that well. He's not really spreading the floor out as much, forcing that defender to come out and guard him on that 3 point line. So if Kawhi and Paul George just play average and they get some of the supporting cast, Reggie Jackson, they got Batum coming in here, Marcus Morris Sr., playoff Rondo. What's he averaging for his assists? 5.8. I mean, they got some guys with experience in there. Pat Beverly, obviously, he's always going to be that kind of pestering defender. And, like we were talking about earlier in past episodes, Luca dunked on him or, got that tough layup, and he's like, oh, you're too small. Clearly, Pat Beverly and the Clippers took that to heart, and, it almost woke up the beast, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that the Mavs need to do is take an inventory of what their team for the future is going to be around Luka Doncic. And honestly, if I'm them, I'm looking to get rid of Kristaps. I'm looking at his salary right now. He's making $27.25 million a year. He signed that huge deal to go for the Mavs, or to go to the Mavs from New York. I mean, unless this guy decides to actually play basketball like he's being paid to, I think it's time to move on. You're not getting the numbers that you're expecting from him. 16 is not going to cut it in the playoffs. He's
Right.
probably averaging close to 35 minutes a game. You need to get capital for someone who's not performing. If your return on investment is not there, then you need to move on from it. And that's just economics 101.
You paid attention back in the day in that economics class. I know I didn't. um, yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what happens with him in the offseason. Obviously, I'm pretty sure Kawhi is a free agent after this year. I know there's a
Yes.
lot of talk. I think him on the Warriors could be scary if you get Steph back playing how he's playing. A healthy Klay Thompson. They got a bunch of young guys, Wiseman, Jordan Poole, who played good in those couple playing games. It'll,
You
it'll
know,
it'll be interesting to see.
I'm thinking, what a sexy place for a lot of free agents this year is going to be?
Come
It's gonna
on,
be it's gonna be New York City, the New
the
York City Knicks. I mean, you got Julius Randle.
Knickerbockers.
Obviously, he's not playing really well, which we'll talk about. But
Yes, we need
this
to.
team is exciting. You got a lot of good players, a lot of good young players. If you add like a Kawhi Leonard to that team, I mean, they would easily be top three in the East, I would say. Obviously the Nets aren't going to be the same team next year. We'll probably lose Blake Griffin because we won't be able to sign him. But if I'm a free agent this year, especially Kawhi, he's not making it out of the West. Let's be honest. The Clippers are going to win this series. They're probably going to lose in the next round. Maybe if they get lucky, they'll go to a championship, still lose. I just think there's a lot of teams that are better than the Clippers in the West. I mean, if I'm a free agent, I'm looking at New York and I'm saying, well, MSG every day, playing at home, and then also I have a lot of great supporting cast members around me
Hmm.
that will allow me to radiate and be the superstar that I am, because that's what they're missing. They're missing that it factor. I mean, Julius Randle, don't get me wrong, guy is great. I think he had an outstanding season. Can he do it again? Maybe.
Hmm.
But you had a Kawhi Leonard, that's going to alleviate a lot of the pressure off of a Julius Randle and RJ Barrett.
Hmm.
Imagine RJ Barrett off the bench. That
Right.
would be insane.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say, you see what he did in Toronto, right? He went there. Obviously, you had Kyle Lowry, a decent supporting cast, but who wouldn't want to play in MSG? It's one of the NBA's most historic and biggest markets, right? New York City. It could attract a bunch of free agents. It's energetic, people playing in there all the time. If you get a guy like Kawhi, he's probably gonna want a max contract. I'm not sure cap room how that all works out, but I'm thinking, Lonzo Ball, a guy who's really good at facilitating, plays good defense, a hustle guy that they definitely need in that organization. He's improved on his shooting. Pair those guys with Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett. Tyler, they've been without Mitchell Robinson, who I think could be a good, Clint Capella type guy, get those offensive rebounds, defend the ball around the rim. Nerlens Noel, he's filled in decently. You got Alec Burks, like you said, Tyler. They have a lot of good role players, but if they get that star, maybe that premier point guard they've been looking after, I think they could be solid next
I don't
season.
even think that they need a premier point guard. I mean, you got Emmanuel quickly, who
Yeah,
I
but
had
he,
high praise for. I mean, I think if he already has the shot, he's a great 3-point shooter. You get him comfortable and confident in his gameplay and transform it from where he was in college in Kentucky to the NBA. I don't think you really need anybody that's like a John Morant. Like you already have a very
Yeah, but
good
Alonzo
player.
Ball is, he's not quite the scorer that John Moran is, but he's prolific and he's can get to the hoop. He knows how to dish it. He has good game sense. Like I said, he plays good defense. I do like quickly. I think he can develop into a star in this league. But I mean, look what he's doing. He's playing against the all his points and the stuff that he does. He's playing against that second line for teams. He's coming off the bench. I think he fits well in that kind of situation.
But I mean, that's like discounting six man of the year or Jordan Clarkson. That guy's usually coming off the bench to face
Yeah,
second line
but
in that case too.
no, but he played Jordan Clarkson. He plays 24 minutes a game, so he's in there with the starters. Kind of like
I think
Derrick Rose before he started the past few games.
right.
Technically Alfred Payton was starting, but Rose came in off the bench. And, they're talking about him for six man of the year, but he plays the whole game. Quickly, he doesn't get nearly the minutes. I think he may deserve more, but I'm not sure that he's gonna go out and produce against the starting lineup of the other opposing teams every night.
I personally think that if Derrick Rose wasn't there, obviously it'd be a different Knicks team. But I think you would see more of the opportunity for Quickly to be the player that he is going to be in the NBA. He's going to get a lot more opportunities to score, a lot more opportunities to pass the ball. I think he's a for the amount of money that you guys are paying him. I think this is the opportunity to take advantage of him the most and allow him to grow. And honestly, I really don't think, the point guard position is the best position in basketball right now. It's the small forward position. That's why a guy like Kawhi Leonard would be an amazing addition. Guy can guard off on and off the ball. He's a defensive shutdown player, and he also, can average 33 a game in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, look at the people we're talking about, at least thus far. Donovan Mitchell, John Morant, Luka Doncic. The next series we're going to get into, Portland versus Denver. You got Dame Lillard. I'm just looking at these other teams here.
Jamal Murray.
Right, hurt right now, but definitely would have been a big factor in that series. Um, yeah, honestly, you can't go wrong with that. I don't think we should talk too much about it. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of time in between seasons and then the off season to get into the whole free agency. But there's definitely some things the Knicks can do to make them a top team in the East. Now, with James Dolan, right, running the show, will that happen? That remains to be seen. But we will definitely find out when the time comes. Like I said, Tyler, next game we're going to be talking about their series, excuse me, Denver Nuggets, Portland Trail Blazers. I think last episode, right, Portland was up 1-0, and we were saying, oh, yeah, small ball, the guards are playing better. In today's NBA, Jokic isn't playing as well. Denver comes back. I think they won two straight, if I'm not mistaken. And then the Trailblazers won the last to tie it up back at 2-2. Um, so we'll talk about the Nuggets. Obviously, Tyler, you mentioned Jamal Murray. He's out for this season, or the rest of the season, hasn't played in the playoffs. A guy, Michael Porter Jr., really stepping up. He's playing 31 minutes a game. He's averaging 15. I don't see his percentage, but he's been shooting the ball well. I've been watching the games. He looks comfortable out there. There's a lot of question marks when he was coming out of college into the NBA. He had the back issue. He didn't really play a lot. But this guy is showing you why he was drafted where he is and why he was talked about as much as he was coming out of the college. You got Aaron Gordon playing decent. I mean, this isn't the Aaron Gordon we used to seeing, the All Star, the Slam Dunk champion. Austin Rivers playing some good minutes. Uh, you know, This is my this is my name butchering of this episode. Basundo Campazzo, right or wrong, Tyler? I don't know. I
You
don't.
know better than I do at this point.
It's got to be foreign from some descent. I didn't
I
want
would have to say Italy if I were to guess.
Italian. Yep, probably. Monte Morris, Paul Millsap, Marcus Howard, Jermichael Green playing some good minutes. On the other side, we got Dame Lillard, 30 points a game. CJ McCollum, 21. Norman Powell, 18. Nurkic, 13. Melo, he's scoring 13 off the bench. He's been shooting the ball well. This series tied 2-2. Tyler, we're going back to Denver for the next game. How do you see this one shaping out?
It's tough because this is another series that's up in the air, just like Dallas. But with Dallas versus the Clippers, I think personally, obviously, this series would be a completely different series if Jamal Murray was here. And honestly, I'm thinking, or I'm seeing that regardless of if Jamal Murray is playing or not, I think the Denver Nuggets are still going to win this series. I think that they're too strong. They have a lot more depth than the Trailblazers. They're doing a decent job of shutting down the 1-2 punch of Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum, as much as they can. But Jokic is just a different beast. The guy is averaging almost a triple double. He's showing why he deserves to be MVP. I think that this game or this series goes to 7 games, but I think that the Nuggets are gonna show why they're the more dominant team.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I feel like this one goes 7 for sure. Traditionally, Dame time, game 7 of the series, we've seen him hit a lot of big shots. Most recently it was against the Rockets. He hit that one to advance to the next round. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, Dame's trying to do it all right now. McCollum, like I said, averaging 21 points a game. I feel like that's got to be a little bit more towards 25 if that duo is going to be able to pull this one off. But you mentioned it. Nuggets a lot deeper, especially at that big man position. They rebound the ball well. Jokic is showing why he's probably gonna, soon to be MVP. I don't believe did they announce that yet?
Not yet.
Not officially, but most likely, like I said, Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon. They're just rebounding the ball well. They're playing smart basketball. I think I'd have to say they're getting a little bit better coaching on their side, but I think they just wear them down if this series goes to 7 games.
No, I agree. I Nuggets, like I said, in 7.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna have their hands full in the next game they play. The winner of the matchup between the Phoenix Suns, the Los Angeles Lakers. Tyler, I mean, talk about an interesting playoffs. In the past few, we've talked about interesting, but to have the Lakers, who even though they played in the play-in series, they were always, I believe, the favorites to come out of the West. Obviously they made the playoffs. They went down 0-1. Chris Paul was banged up for the next 2 games. They lost 2 straight. But I mean, talk about tenacity from the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker, he's a bona fide stud. Chris Paul, he looked the healthiest he's been this whole playoffs. Do you think the Lakers right now, obviously we talked about Anthony Davis. He had to play well. He kind of did that. I think he dropped 31 game in the games they won. Do you think they're kind of showing their weaknesses? Whereas like LeBron and AD, but who do they have after that? Schroeder, he's playing decent basketball. They got Matthews. I'm trying to pull up this let's see this roster right now.
No, I mean Schroeder's averaging 15. He's playing very well.
Caldwell
Uh,
Pope. I mean Drummond. He's doing what they brought him into. He's rebounding the basketball. But I mean, you get a guy in there like Marcus Gasol who they want to stretch the floor, hit some shots, which he's doing. But then the trade off to that, he's just stuck in cement on the defensive side. If he's gonna have to match up against Aiton or one of the other forwards for the Suns, that's just those minutes that they can't get back, and that's when the Suns are kind of flourishing.
I mean, I have a gut reaction, and then I have a reaction of what I know is going to happen. My gut reaction is telling me that the Suns are going to win this series in 6 or 7 games. I just think that they're too strong. They have too many great scorers. Aiton's playing very well for his first playoff series. Same with Booker. It's like a 1-2 punch, and then you got I don't know, one of the best point guards of all time, and Chris Paul, back from injury. He's playing very well, get facilitating the offense. Their defense is pretty strong, you know. And then there's what's going to actually happen. And what's going to actually happen is playoff LeBron is going to come through. He's going to activate Zero Dark 23 mode, and, Anthony Davis is going to show up, and their whole team is going to click. I mean, you kind of saw remnants of last year's bubble team in not the last game, but the game before that. And it was like the Lakers' first, home playoff win in a while. I just think it's going to be too tough to go against LeBron James and the Lakers in this series. They're experienced. They have the players that, know how to win. They have guys that have been together, have won in big game situations. It's just tough to go against that. The experience of it. I love the Suns team. I love Devin Booker. If it were my way, I think that the Suns win this series, but I just can't come to a conclusion saying that it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, anytime you got LeBron in the playoffs, it's hard to bet against. And like we were talking about, him and AD are kind of doing it all. Schroeder is like that third man up. But I mean, you got Contavious Caldwell Pope, who's playing 30 minutes a game, averaging 4 points. That's a guy, you saw the clip, Tyler, I'm sure, where he passed up on a three, and then directly after it cut to commercial, but you see LeBron kind of pounding on his chest like, yo, I passed you the ball so you could shoot it. I mean, he's got one of the best 3 point percentages, I mean, in the league right now. I think when he came into the league, he broke all kinds of 3 point shooting percentage records and threes per season. That obviously kind of slowed down. Steph and Luka kind of taking the shine from that aspect. But you got a lot of guys. I mean, I just counted 13 guys deep on this roster who have played at least 5 minutes a game in the series, who have also played big time minutes throughout the season when guys were down. You got Ben McLemore, Markieff Morris, Talon Horton Tucker, um, Montrezl Harrell, who obviously we've seen a decline in his play time just with the addition of Drummond, probably deservedly so. But this is a guy, and Tyler, we talked about. I'm kind of foreshadowing here. We're going to talk about our awards show, which maybe we'll get into next year, of like, most declined player. And I have, spoiler alert, I got Montrezl Harrell right there, sixth man of the year last year, and now he's coming in. He's averaging in this series 6 points a game, 9 minutes. I mean, this guy has been completely a ghost. Someone
I
who's
feel like
shown
that's
his.
not fair, though. I mean, he was on a different team last year.
Yeah, but they brought him in to kind of be that guy. And yeah, he played decent throughout the playoffs, or excuse me, throughout the regular season. But if you're going to be a six man of the year last year and they're going to bring you in to basically be that same guy this year, I feel like he definitely didn't live up to those expectations.
I feel like the Lakers need to shorten up their leash on who they're putting out there. They definitely need more out of their guys. They need more out of LeBron. They need more out of AD, Caruso, Schroeder. They need more out of these guys. You guys need to dig deep, find the minutes within you. It's win or go home. I mean, this Suns team isn't gonna lay down for you. They're gonna play every game like it's their last, because that's what they're used to. They're a 2 seed, excuse me, playing as if they're the 7 seed against the Lakers. And I personally want the Suns to win. It's just so hard to go against LeBron, and they're gonna figure it out. They're gonna figure out what's gonna push them past the Suns, and that's all that's gonna happen. And I think the Lakers win this in 7 games. A lot of
So
seven
you
game
think it
series for
goes
the
seven?
playoffs. I think it goes 7. I think tonight, or is it tonight or tomorrow? Tonight they're in Phoenix. I think Phoenix takes this game. Then
Hmm.
you're gonna see it go back to LA. LA takes that, and then it's gonna be a close game, a nail biter in Phoenix for Game 7. And I think LeBron is gonna show why he's the best player in the world.
Yeah, see, I think at this point, obviously tied 2-2, but kind of everything we just mentioned and all things considered, I think the Lakers, LeBron, he's activated now. He's gotten beat up and bruised throughout these playoffs. He's tired of it. He wants to get some rest before the next series. I think they take the next 2 games and win. I will say, Tyler, the only way the Suns have a chance, obviously Devin Booker can't do it all, but he's got to shoot the three ball better. He had 34 points in that first game they won. He shot 3 for 7, 42.9% from three. Since he is a 2 for 12. I'm not sure what that overall percentage equates to, Tyler, but obviously he's the main guy. He plays well off the ball, but he's really not getting into his shooting motion. You see that. The Lakers are defending him well. They're kind of hedging those screens, but he's going to have to be the guy, kind of like we saw Tatum in that game where he dropped 50, just kind of scoring at will, doing whatever it takes to win the ball game. I think that's what's going to have to happen.
I mean, I think he can do that. Lakers are obviously playing very well defensively to not allow someone to do that. A guy that could score 70 points. They're gonna do whatever it takes for him to not have the ball in his hands, essentially. But I don't think that it's gonna go next two to the Lakers. I think that the Suns have one more in them.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just enforced what I was saying. The Lakers, they have so many guys off the bench, that much depth. They can throw three, four, five different guys at Booker, and they all, like I said, have played decent minutes this season. They know how to be in there. They know how to run the game plan. I just don't think they have enough firepower on the Suns right now. I
Which
don't
is
know.
weird because it's gonna be like the most or the least anticipated upset of
Right.
NBA playoff history.
Can you even call it an upset? I mean, like I said, by the standing standpoint, yes, but the Lakers, betting odds were still always the favorite to come out of the
Well, the Lakers
West.
are still the favorite.
Right, but like always, even though
Right.
they were in the play-in game, it's like nothing ever changed. Obviously they played one extra game to get in there at the 7 seed, but I mean, everyone knows what's going to happen. I mean, they're coming off the bubble win. I'm not sure you can call that a true NBA championship, but I guess technically you can. And pretty much the same team. I don't see why anything should change. Other than obviously, if we're going to get into the Eastern side, we'll save that series for last. I was referring to the Nets. We'll start up top. We got the 76ers versus the Wizards, Tyler. I thought this was going to be a clean sweep by the Sixers. Now they're kind of in some hot water. Joel Embiid goes out early, goes down in the game. Was it last night? Yesterday? No, 2 days ago? I forget. Anyways, he got hurt, injured his knee. Reports are coming out. He's going to most likely miss. He's doubtful for game five after an MRI. I mean, if he doesn't go, that changes the whole landscape of this series. He was a, top candidate for MVP this season. If he played a full season, he probably would have won it over Jokic. I just feel like now they're kind of put in a tough position. I'm looking at it here too. Uh, where is it? I think Paul George or what's his name? Where am I not seeing this? Anyways, there's a couple other guys. Seth Curry, they're all banged up. I mean, a lot of pressure is going to be put on Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris, and I'm not sure those guys are going to answer the call.
Yeah, the other guy was George Hill that stayed today,
George Hill,
but
yep.
I think this is going to be a gentleman's sweep. I don't think the Wizards, regardless of if they have Embiid, can handle the Sixers. The Sixers are going to be prepared to play without him. Therefore, they're going to be ready for this game. Ben Simmons is going to have to step up, which I think he can. Tobias Harris, is going to show why he deserves the money that he's being paid. I think that this Wizards team is going to run into a defense that is going to be ready to stop, or try to. Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, contain them. And I mean, they're in Philadelphia tonight. Uh, I just don't see the Sixers losing this game. If they hadn't beat, it'd be obvious almost. But I think you'll see a good high scoring game by the Wizards. But I think it's the Sixers game to lose.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Wizards take this one. If I'm being honest, they're coming on obviously a win streak, if you want to call it that. Brody, ever since he got the popcorn thrown on him, he seems like a even different animal than he already was. Beal, he's looking healthy. He's looking comfortable. I think. Let me see these stats if I got him right here. I'm not sure what he's averaging. I feel like he's easily in the 30s right now.
Well,
Stats.
Beal is averaging 31.
29.5. I mean, Westbrook's averaging 17.8, 11 rebounds, 12.3 assists. If Embiid doesn't go or he's not 100% if he plays, I feel like the Wizards take this next one. But even so, I'm still thinking right at this point, I'm going to say Sixers in 6. But that just completely changes the whole landscape of this Eastern Conference playoffs because before I thought they had kind of two buys, if you will. I thought they were going to sweep the Wizards, sweep the winner of the Knicks and the Hawks, whereas on the other end, the Nets are having a little bit of trouble with the Celtics. Obviously, Jason Tatum kind of went crazy. That probably won't happen again. They might get the gentleman sweep, as you're calling it, but that matchup against the Bucks, man, I guess we'll wait to get into it. It's going to be a tough one. Um, so I guess that we'll move on from that game. You think the Sixers are going to close it out? I think the Wizards get one more. Maybe give Embiid a little bit more time to rest up and get healthy. Then he comes back and they squeeze by. Next series, we talked to him on before, Tyler. The Knicks versus the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, this is Trae Young's coming out party. We've seen what he can do in the regular season. We know what type of scorer he is. I mean, the guy looks poised. He looks confident. He's really doing it all right now. And we're talking about the other Bogdanovich stepping up. They got Gallinari, Clint Capella's playing some good minutes. Herder off the bench. Shout out to the hometown Herder. They're just proving to be too much for New York right now. I'm gonna maybe give the Knicks one more game. I think Randall can kind of see what he's lacking so far in this postseason. Knows he needs to step it up. He's super hesitant, Tyler. You see him; he gets wide open shots out on the 3-point line, and yeah, he'll get past the one guy, but then everyone else is collapsing, and he just throws up a wild, crazy shot that most of the time, but banks off the backboard and doesn't even come close. I think he's gonna figure out what he needs to do. Tom Thibodeau is showing why he's in the running for Coach of the Year. I think they get one more, but too much Trae Young. The Hawks, they're proving that they're just a lot to handle right now.
Yeah, I don't even think the Knicks, win one more. I think it's over tomorrow night in Madison Square Garden, unfortunately, for this Knicks Cinderella season. I think Trae Young, like you said, is too much. They're just too overpowering against this Knicks team. Anytime you see light at the end of the tunnel for the Knicks to potentially win it, the Hawks just match their energy and, take the game over, take control. There's been a lot of situations throughout the series where the Knicks, you're like, wow, they're on like a 10-something run. Knicks are going to take this game, and then next thing you know, the Hawks are right back down your throat. They're a tenacious team. They want to win this series. Like you said, Trae Young's coming out. I think this is showing that he belongs in the league as one of the top scorers. A lot of people were taken away from him because he wasn't shooting as much during the regular season. He was getting more of his teammates involved. But he's saying, you know what, F that. I'm the guy on this team. I'm the superstar. I'm gonna be the one that shushes the New York City fans. I think the Hawks come out and I'm not gonna say dominate, but I think that they give it to the Knicks and send them home packing. And it sucks for me to say because I do want to see the Knicks move on. I hate Trae Young. I
Yeah.
think he's a troll doll lookalike. And I think he has dentures. I honestly think he has dental implants or something like that. My guy looks like Mr. Potato Head. They took like Andy or the villain from Toy Story took a troll doll, put it in Mr. Potato Head's mouth, and that now you got Trae Young. I'm not a big fan. I think he's a decent player.
Do you think
I'm
he
not gonna
kind of
say much.
got forced into that villain role? I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way you do. He's kind of got, a different appearance, look to him, and I'm sure he's been, doubted his whole career, basketball career since he was young just because of his size. So do you think he got kind of forced into that villain role of just people doubting him and talking trash to him? Because he's really showing that like you don't think of him as a top trash talker in the NBA, but as far as the playoffs this year, he's probably number one.
Listen, I'm a loudmouth. I like talking shit. I like getting under people's skin, ruffling some feathers. But this guy takes it to a whole new level. This guy will go on national TV, tell you to shut the fuck up. Like he was literally telling Knicks fans that.
Hmm.
And, I feel like he did it to himself. I think it's great for basketball. I think it brings more of the dramatics. But then what happens is, you get people that hate you because you're annoying. But he's backing it up with his basketball. Have your series, Trey Young, because it ain't gonna last that long. But
Yeah.
I think the Hawks win this next game.
All right. I don't know. I feel like there's too much going around with, Clint Capella talking trash, saying they're going to go in there to MSG, close out the series on their home court. I think guys like Derrick Rose, Taj Gibson, they're really going to get in the young guys' heads, especially I'd say Barrett. Randall, I wouldn't quite call him a young guy, but he's definitely new to stardom, being the guy. As I'm looking at the stats for the Knicks right now, Tyler, uh, as I just exit out of it, uh, a plus, Derrick Rose is averaging 22 points per game. A huge minus is Julius Randle is only averaging 16.8. I mean, this is the guy that averaged mid 20s throughout the whole season, right? Um, he got the most improved player. I gotta I gotta think about it because some of the awards have been given out, some of them haven't. He got voted most improved player. I mean, he's really just got to step it up. They don't have
I mean, I feel
his
like
per is only 6 right now. You know, you got Alec Burks, R.J. Barrett, Obi Toppin, Taj Gibson, Nerlens Noel that all have higher per splits than him. His percentage is absolutely egregious. I think there's been at least 2 games, Tyler, where he hasn't scored a point in the whole first quarter. That's simply got to change. I think it does change, and I think the Knicks squeeze one more game out. But like I said, aforementioned, I believe the Hawks will come out victorious of this series.
I mean, going back on Derrick Rose, I mean, the only reason why he's averaging so much is because he's picking up the slack that Julius Randle is not giving the Knicks. If Julius Randle was averaging what he should be averaging, high 20s, low 30s, I don't think Derrick Rose is taking as many shots as he is. I think his assists would go up,
Hmm.
but I think this would be a whole different series if Julius Randle actually showed up.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean,
I think
that
this
first
would be
game
a
could have
series
gone.
that would be 7 games easily.
Yeah, still might be. No, I don't know. I don't think I can say
Unless
that
Julius Randle
confidently
shows
right
up
now.
tomorrow, I mean, I think the Hawks take it,
Yeah,
and it's not going to be pretty.
yeah, they really choked that first game. I mean, I statistically, I feel like it should be 2-2 right now, but obviously, realistically, Hawks are up 3-1. Knicks are in a little bit of a hole. Randall, a lot, even more pressure than was already put on him
I mean, you're
is on
right.
it right now.
That first game really messed up the Knicks, stride going forward. Losing that close at home in your first playoff game since
Yeah.
2013, that's a blow. Like that's hard to come back from.
I mean that Trey Young literally came out and just like punched him in the mouth. He came out,
Exactly.
he put up a monster game from a points perspective. He hit the game winner pretty much. I mean, it just for the whole organization, the fan base, it really just struck fear into their hearts, really. Now they're kind of playing scared basketball. So that next series, we got the first clinch series. The Milwaukee Bucks swept the Miami Heat. I mean, the Heat, I don't even know where to start. They go from the Eastern Conference Finals. Now they're the first team booted of this
NBA
playoffs,
Finals.
or the NBA Finals. Yeah, I don't know why I always forget that. I don't know. The bubble season to me was just super weird, and I don't
Yeah,
I
you
don't
were
think it.
always against the bubble.
Yeah, I spoke avidly against it. Let me pull up the stats right here
I
because
mean,
I wanna get into the Heat, Tyler. The
okay.
Bucks came out and they showed who they were, we knew they were, right? I want to look at these stats here. I mean, Goran Dragic was the leading scorer for that series, 16 points. Then you got Bam Adebayo. Then you got Jimmy Butler at 14.5. I mean, this is supposed to be a guy. He's a dog, right? He's getting in there. He's getting all the, doing all the dirty plays. He's, hustling, diving for balls. He's putting up points. I mean, what happened? Jimmy, I'm a huge fan. I love the underdog story. I'm always going to root for you. But I just don't know what happened in this playoffs. Was it too much Miami Sun? I don't know what's going on. Kendrick Nunn coming in at 10 points a game. Duncan Robinson. Tyler Hero, Tyler, you and I talked about him. I'm not sure if it's his name, right? Just why he's been playing so bad. Ahaha, just playing. But I mean, this was a guy you saw in the bubble last year playing out of his mind. You thought, okay, the Heat could be kind of scary if this guy kind of comes into his own. He's playing 23.3 minutes a game, averaging 9.3. I mean, Trevor Ariza, 24 minutes a game. The most notable thing he did in this whole series was tackle Giannis to the ground, which complete can't have that. I don't know how I want to coin it, but you just can't be doing that in NBA basketball.
Yeah, I mean, this was a series that was bad blood for the Bucks. Losing to the Heat last year in the playoffs, they shouldn't have. They got embarrassed. Giannis kind of took it on himself to say, this team can't beat me. If I play at my full stature, this team shouldn't be beating me. I'm gonna sweep them. I'm gonna take it. And he took it to heart. I mean, this guy, came out, swept the Heat, who went to the NBA Finals last year. The Heat looked like I saw a meme the other day. It was the Heat logo, except after the series when they got swept, it was the basketball outside of the rim because they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat.
Yeah.
Tyler Hero last year in the bubble given the GER, but this year he's looking like a JV second string basketball player. I mean, a lot of question marks for the Heat. This team needs to figure it out in the offseason. And I don't think that they have many answers. Jimmy Butler, is he going to stay? What are they going to do with this organization? I think this is the collapse of the Heat being swept by the Bucks personally, but this Bucks team is no joke. I know I said last week that I didn't think that they were that good or that great or anything, but sweeping anybody in the NBA is a tough feat. I think Giannis is playing out of his mind. I think he's one of the best basketball players in the NBA, probably top 10 easily. A
Yeah.
lot of time off though, Austin. A lot of time off for the next series.
So you
That's
you
all I'm gonna say.
you said that when we were talking about March Madness, and we were like, oh, is it a pro or a con to have that much rest? Pretty much, I don't. It's almost like your Tyler shit pumping game of the week, Jinx. You said you think time off is gonna hurt the team. I'll just set my camera real quick. But really, quite the opposite happened. Every team that had rest and had more days off came out and played well. Like you said, Giannis is playing great basketball right now, 23.5 points per game. Guess how many rebounds?
14.
15 rebounds.
That's
I
crazy.
can't remember the last time someone averages, 20 and 15 in a playoff series.
But to be fair, I don't think Bam Adebayo is playing like the Bam Adebayo that he should have played like. He was very lackluster this series last year. I mean, shit, they were thinking like Finals MVP for him. Without him, that's why they said that they lost against the Lakers because they didn't have him to go up against Anthony Davis. Where was he this year? Nowhere to be found. Tyler
Mm-hmm.
Hero, where was he this year? Nowhere to be found. Jimmy Butler didn't even play that great. I just think this whole Heat team as a whole is a disgrace to the city of Miami. I think they need to blow it up. I think they need to restart, rethink what they're gonna do. Is Tyler Hero even worth keeping? The guy can't even keep his dick in his pants. He's too busy out on the beach in Miami. He's not even playing basketball what he's being paid for. I mean, is he that good? Probably, but I don't think you got to give him some tough love. I mean, this guy needs to shapen up if he's going to be a star in this league like everybody's saying he will. Either way, the biggest picture I saw was Giannis holding the Bucks sweep paper from the Milwaukee Centennial on the plane back to Milwaukee. And you know what? Enjoy that moment, Giannis, because it ain't going to last that long.
Yeah, maybe almost that Jack Harlow song went to his head, and he was just
I think so.
he was just
I think
thinking he
so.
was a lot more than he actually is.
He was
But
too busy teaching Jack Harlow how to shoot a basketball rather than, worry about himself. So,
hey, listen, can't argue with it. He hasn't played well, so Tyler's got a valid point. Um, and I'm just looking at the time here. Do you know who if we got someone right after us?
I don't.
Hmm, probably. Maybe shoot Dan a text real quick. But we'll get into it. The next series, Tyler, I'm sure one that you're very excited about. The Nets against the Boston Celtics. Right? We thought this was going to be a clean sweep. Jason Tatum said, not so fast. Drops a 50 bomb on him. I mean, that was really the only way the Celtics win a game in this series, right? Jason Tatum had to completely go off. KD's been playing solid defense against them thus far. I don't really see it happening again. I mean, he had to put his heart and soul into that one performance. I don't think he's got another game like that in him. I think the Nets close out the series in their next game. But just real quick, Tyler, because I more so want to talk about the next matchup. I mentioned to you yesterday, the Bucks are almost a JV version of the Nets, right? You got Giannis against KD, you got Drew Holiday on Kyrie, and you got Middleton on James Harden. I mean, it's going to be an interesting series. I'm not sure it's going to be as easy as people were thinking it would have been for the Nets, especially now the Bucks showing what they have, the fortitude, the success. They got a lot of guys. I think they had like, you know, 15 guys play in that last series, probably because they were blowing them out. But they got a deep roster. Are you worried at all as a diehard Nets fan about this next matchup?
Well, to start with the current matchup, it's finito bonito. You have to give credit to KD, averaging 35 almost a game. The guy's playing out of his mind. James Harden facilitating the ball. Kyrie averaging, close to 30 as well. I mean, just insane. 141 points the last game when they beat the Celtics, who scored 125. But am I worried? Absolutely not. I think the Bucks beat us up in the regular season enough. The Nets have their number now. They're ready to come, show the Bucks who the real true winner of the East is going to be. I don't even think it's going to be a matchup I'm worried about. The matchup I'm worried about is more towards the end of the line. I think the Sixers team matching up against Joel Embiid is going to be a little bit tougher than Giannis. Um, I do like your analogy, though. I told you that yesterday of the Bucks being the JV version of the Nets. Unfortunately, I think it's the JVB version.
Oh,
I don't
modified.
think, I don't even think that they're in the same arena or deserve to be in the same arena. Uh, the Nets are just on too big of a hot streak scoring wise for anybody to stop them.
Yeah. We got Bruh Man 502 in the chat. The Heat are tired. Everyone on that team just made their furthest season push ever with a 30-day turnaround. Simply fatigued. He agrees. Nets in five. Probably agreeing with everyone else that's a basketball fan. I'm not sure, Tyler.
Dan said nerd glasses behind us, so don't
Yep.
want to push too far.
Yep. All right.
Let's get into your cancel of the week though, real quick, because
Yeah.
I know you wanted to do that.
Yeah. Real quick. So it is 7 now. I'm trying to do my time zone differentiate. So I got a little cancel of the week. NBA fans, you're canceled, right? You're allowed back in arenas for the first time in how long, and you're acting like complete imbeciles. I mean, what was the first instance? You're throwing popcorn, spitting on people in MSG, throwing water bottles, and now
Tackling
la-
or running the court.
last night, yeah, and or the other day, what was it? The Sixers Wizards game.
I think it was last night.
Yeah, last night they're trying to rush the court. I mean, you get a little bit of freedom. It's like that saying, give you an inch and they take a mile. That's exactly what the NBA fans are doing right now. You're just making NBA fans, sports fans look bad in general, right? We've never seen anything like this before. There's a fine line between trash talking, which I feel like is good for the game, for the competition. It has a little bit more stake to it. But if you're just gonna go out there and throwing stuff, I mean, or spitting on people, especially in a we're still technically in a pandemic. I don't know, and it almost landed on 50 Cent. I was waiting for him to turn around and just cold cock the guy. I'm canceling you guys until we can show a little bit more composure and overall just respect.
So Austin, I have a solution, I should say. This is Tyler's solution to rowdy NBA fans. I think the NBA, listen, Adam Silver, listen up. I know you're out there listening to your fans, to your people. The No Look Podcast has got the solution for you right here, right now. You have a
Let's
guy
hear it.
throwing popcorn on a player. You have a guy spitting on a player. You have a guy throwing water bottles at players. Why not put that guy at center court? Have every single player on the team do exactly what they did to that player.
I mean, that'd be
Forget
great.
life forget lifetime bans. Forget arresting somebody for throwing a water bottle, calling it assault with a deadly weapon. Why not just have the players retaliate in a closed private session in the arena, bring that guy in, blindfold him, put a bag over his head, do something, and just have, them throw half used water bottles or popcorn or, whatever object they feel necessary. Pelt them with a basketball, something like that.
We're going
That will
back.
teach that will teach you to respect the game, respect what you're paying to see instead of making the NBA a joke. Right now, the NBA looks like a joke. And I feel in order to get away from that, retaliation needs to happen.
Hey, I love it. I'm not sure how realistic it is. It's almost like we're going back to the biblical days where you put someone, you tie them up in the middle of town, you throw rocks at them. But yeah, something's got to happen. I just hope, the few bad apples don't ruin it for the rest of people because, there's a lot of people that are excited to be able to watch live sports events, especially, basketball. And other than the no look solution, I'm not sure what people can do other than just not allowing fans in or restricting them or, maybe moving towards some kind of background check, which, I mean, we're getting a little
I
bit
think
ahead of
lifetime. I
ourselves,
think
but
lifetime bans is great. I just think what's greater than that is what was the old saying? You steal something, you get your finger chopped off or your hand chopped off. It was like some
hmm,
ancient, Mesopotamian. I don't know. I
right.
didn't pay attention in history class, but eye for an eye. You spit on someone, you get spit on.
Yeah. Well, good thing people still don't abide by those ancient rules because I might be losing a hand right now if that was the case. But anyways, that's it. We ran a few minutes over. Apologize to the Nerd Glasses. Appreciate you guys for the patience. It's been another episode of the No Look Podcast. We're gonna be back normal time next week, right, Tyler? 7 p.m. EST on Monday. I think that's it. As always, you don't gotta go home, but you can't stay here. Wheezy out. Nerd
Tell
Glasses
you.
up next.